Good, y'all? It's Classic MMA, and today I'll be doing my full card breakdown for UFC Qatar, Arman versus Dan Hooker. So we'll be covering all 13 fights, doing my predictions. I went 10 to 14 last week, so let's try to keep that up. I'm on the MMA predictions track, the UFC predictions tracker channel, so check me out there. You'll see me on there. We're winning big this week. Come on. All right, let's start with the first fight of the card. After I scroll down. Alright, we got two fat heavyweights opening the card. We got Maric Bojo versus Denzel Freeman. Maric Bojo, 5-0 on the regional scene heavyweight from Poland, with all finishes. He has kind of been fighting cans though. Let me show you some of these dudes' records: 3-5, 13-12, 6-4, 2-6, and 0-2. So kind of a bunch of blobs who just they're taxi drivers. He does have a very chaotic style, though, which can cause issues for people. And he's actually a real heavyweight that actually has some level of grappling. He's trained with Gunnar Nelson in the past, and at 32 years old with a decent skill set, could be interesting in this division, making his debut here. Another fighter making his debut, Denzel Freeman, 6-1 fighter, fought in LFA and PFL. His only loss is a split decision, which was just kind of a low output fight where neither guy did much. Has a 100% finish rate though in his wins, and he's a very high level wrestler. As you know, he has a wrestling base at heavyweight, and then he also beat Steven Asplund on the regional scene, who's going to be making his debut very soon. Submitted him with a rear naked choke, which is pretty sick. He uses a cool karate stance, and also has a really nasty head kick. Denzel Freeman's really good. So I don't know. Alright, close heavyweight fight here, but my final prediction, I gotta go Denzel Freeman by round 2 TKO. I think round 1 is going to be tough. Bojo's very chaotic, just going for the finish style. He's going to be shooting takedowns. He's going to be throwing everything he has at Freeman in that first round. But I do think that Freeman will be able to use his wrestling to neutralize that a bit. And I think eventually in round 2 we should be able to find a ground and pound TKO. Honestly, I just think Denzel Freeman's a level above him, honestly. He has real experience in real decent promotions, like the PFL, the LFA, fighting real fighters, fighting UFC level competition, compared to the absolute cans that Bojo's fighting on the regional scene. So give me Denzel Freeman by round 2 TKO. Alright, next fight, Nurullo Aliev versus Shamrock. Nurullo Aliev. Basically just Khabib 2.0, I mean. It has a super heavy wrestling style with not much on the feet, and is looking to control and win a decision. 25 years old and seems he will be a top contender at some point, no matter how boring he is. Shamrock, decent fighter, making his debut out of the UK. Pretty solid kickboxer, who also has trained some BJJ and has really nice submission ability. So I'm not talking too much about these fights, because I don't really care much about either of these guys, but I'll say, now this fight could definitely be hard for Aliev. I'm going to say that because I'm curious to see how he deals with Shamrock's BJJ off his back and his submission ability. But I just have to go with Nurullo Aliev by decision. It's just hard to pick against this Khabib clone in Qatar. When Shamrock, he just hasn't fought the highest level competition, fighting in Octagon MMA, winning split decisions, going draws. Go against guys that just aren't the highest of level. It's just hard to pick against Nurullo. I just think Nurullo Aliev should be able to take him down and control him and win a kind of whatever decision in Qatar. So, give me Nurullo Aliev by decision. Alright, next fight, Ryan Loder versus Ismail Nurdiev. So, Ryan Loder, basically either he takes you down and controls you or gets chin type of fighter. No in between. 34 years old, coming off the Ultimate Fighter a few years ago. He is a very good wrestler, though. I'll say that for Ryan Loder. He has really sick ground and pound. He just looks lost on the feet. That last fight was Bakoev. Bakoev was just throwing absolutely wild shots, which probably would have gassed him out if Loder could have survived, but he just didn't. And just got chinned badly. Coming back 6 months later, though, and is looking to, and he's also fighting a very low-level opponent. He's kind of the opposite of Loder in the way of being low-level. As instead of being the type to win when he's grappling, Nurdiev's the type usually win when he's on the feet, but he's completely useless on the ground. He's in his second stint in the UFC. He's 2-3 in his last fights. through 5 fights, and that include like he was getting finished on the regional scene before the UFC called him back up on a 1-fight win streak to fight Bruno Silva on short notice, which Bruno Silva is one of the worst fighters on the roster right now on a huge losing streak. And then he just lost the Iron Turtle where he thought he won after hitting an illegal knee, but then nearly got subbed at the end of round 3 and lost badly. So I don't know. Neither of these guys are very good to me, and this is actually a hard fight to pick because of that. But I think I'm just gonna go Ryan Loder by decision. I'm very low confidence on this, but I think as long as Loder, doesn't get chinned out cold and look like a complete dwarf on the feet, I think he should be able to take Nurdiev down and control him to a lackluster finish or lackluster decision, and maybe even get a ground and pound TKO. Who knows? So I don't know. Give me Ryan Bloater by decision. That's my fighter. Alright, next fight. Something I'm actually really excited for. Beksat Almakhan versus Alexandre Topuria. So Elliot Topuria's brother. Beksat Almakhan. This dude is a great bantamweight prospect with insane KO power. Has 10 KOs on his record out of what? 14 fights, has 10 of those they won by knockout. And he even fought Umar Nurmagomedov in his debut and lost that fight by getting controlled, but in the first round, he dropped Umar bad and nearly knocked him out, which is, crazy. For as good as Umar is, that's the second best bantamweight in the world, only to Merab. And Beksat dropped him in the first round, which just shows how crazy his KO power. And then second fight in the UFC, gets the nasty knockout over Brad Katona, which Brad Katona is awful, one of the worst fighters on the roster, but, Beksat did beat him, so. But he got the cool finish. Then on the Alexandre Topuria fight, he obviously is current pound for pound number 2 in the world, Ilya Topuria's brother. And he also does corner for Topuria and helps him in training camp and stuff. That's why you never see him fighting at the same time. Made his debut in February against Colby Thickness, who was a short notice opponent. And while not the highest level opponent in the world, Alexandre Topuria, showed some really good fight IQ with the pressure boxing and the grappling, showing that he knew how to mix in the striking and the grappling. Like, Topuria is really good, dude. Now for my final prediction, man. This is such a tough fight. I think both these dudes are going to be top 10 soon. Like, I think both these dudes will be top 10 in the next couple of years, but I just have to ride with Alexandre Topuria by decision. I'm sorry, but I just think that Topuria has higher fight IQ, and I think he'll be able to mix up his striking and grappling. Only thing to worry about is Beksat's power, which, and I know some people may point to Topuria's KO loss like 10 years ago, but this guy was like, looked like he was 2 weight classes bigger than him, and he was, how old would he have been? Like, Topuria would have been 19 years old when this happened, so I don't think Beksat's going to be chinning him now because of that. So I just think Topuria is going to be able to win through his fight IQ, through his boxing, and just be able to win a clean decision. So give me Alexandre Topuria by decision. Really excited for that fight. Alright, pray for me while I read these names. Abdul Rahman Yakhayev. I'm not saying that right, but I don't care. Alright, Yakhayev. Very hyped light heavyweight prospect. Making his debut from the Dana White Contender Series after that sick KO. Has nearly all finishes on his record and is a light heavyweight that can actually grapple a bit. Has submissions and has ground and pound TKOs on his record. Hasn't fought the highest level competition, but got that big win on Dana White Contender Series with a sick knockout. Then for Rafael Sequeira, one of the worst fighters on the roster. Let's face it. This dude is 0-3 in the UFC with 2 finishes lost to Ibo Aslan and Mendeskius Pakauskas, who are both good. And then he lost to Juicebox Julius Walker by decision. And he actually did look pretty good in this fight. I'll say that. Like, he actually wobbled Julius Walker at one point. But I don't think that's due to say how good Sequeira is. I think Juicebox is just terrible. He's not necessarily terrible, as I think he can win fights in this division. And I think he might even be ranked. Because Juicebox finds a way to win. But, like, his goofy just kind of... Like, the dude literally thought he was Khabib in this fight. He was spamming takedowns, going for Kimuras, fumbling Kimuras because he doesn't know how to do a submission. And I mean, Sequeira was just letting him do it. Like, this was one of the funniest fights I've ever watched in my life. One of the lowest level fights you'll ever see in your life. So, I don't know. I don't think that fight makes Sequeira look very good either. Now, for my final prediction, easiest pick of the card. Yakhayev should be able to win this fight by round 1 knockout. Like, He should be able to win it however he wants. Sakara's non-existent chin just makes me think that Yakev will put him out cold on the feet. And then he also has non-existent takedown defense. So let's say Yakev wants to shoot on him, go for a ground and pound TKO, even go for a sub. He can do that too. So I don't know. Easy pick. I got Yakev by round 1 knockout. Alright, next fight on the card, Alex Perez versus Asu Amabayev. Alright, Alex Perez, former flyweight title challenger, used to actually be a pretty solid kickboxer, really good wrestling. Went on a decent win streak before he fought Figgy for the belt. But since that, he's just been kind of inactive and not really, and he's kind of fallen off. I mean, he's went 1-4 in his last 5 fights, all losing to good opponents, by the way. Like all these dudes are really good, but still, 1-4 is just not a good look. And he's really inactive. He's coming off a year and a half layoff after that knee injury versus Tatsuro Taira. So, and then Asu Amabayev, one of the better wrestlers in this division, is able to spam takedowns like no one else really in this division besides like Pantoja and rack up control time even if boring. Has some striking concerns though with the KO loss to Mano Cop. Yes, I know Mano Cop was eye poking him in that fight, but even if it wasn't for the eye pokes, Mano Cop would have beat the actual living just he would have destroyed him anyways. Like that's what happened in that fight. Like he got chinned. So he did look really good though in his last fight against Jose Ochoa, who was really dangerous prospect coming here. I actually picked him to beat Amabayev, and Amabayev was able to take him down and control him and avoid the power shots on the feet and win a comfortable decision. So, alright, my final prediction. This is another really easy fight to go. I'm going Aso Amabayev by decision. This is just a really easy pick. I just think Alex Perez is really washed. I think Asu should be able to take him down and control him for most of this fight. Alright, next fight. Sagid, not even Sagid versus Nicholas Dalby. Alright, Sagid, 22-2 fighter from ONE FC from Russia, who has 12 submissions with a 77% finish rate. He's been in he was in Islam's training camp for what's called for his fight versus JDM, and trains and is coached by Javier Mendez. You know, part of that whole crew with Khabib and stuff. He also has some pretty solid ground and pound. His last fight was 3 years ago though, which does give me some worries. Like he hasn't fought in 3 years, so. Nicholas Dalby, pretty fun veteran, 41 years old, but still kicking. Always in scraps and is really good for his ages. I mean, his only losses are to Randy Brown, which, I mean, yes, he got chinned and got face planted KO'd and did not look good, but, that happens. And then he lost he, in quotation marks, lost to Renat Fakhretdinov. He did not lose this fight. He got robbed, but, But I mean, he does have this one sneaky. He has a sneaky win over Gabriel Bonfim, who's now in the top 10 of welterweight and is probably going to be a top 7-ish contender at welterweight at some point. So pretty good win there. Also be Muslim Salikov. So Nicholas Dalby's very good. Now for my final prediction, I have to go Saigid by decision. As good of a vet that Dalby is, and he could potentially get this one done just with the UFC experience alone. Just shows Saigid that there's levels to this, but I just think it's hard to pick against a guy who has trained with Islam Makhachev and has fought in ONE FC, which is a solid promotion. I think Saigid will be able to win a kind of boring decision, just showcasing his wrestling, maybe going for some subs. I don't think he will sub Dalby, though. Dalby's never been subbed before. So, give me Saigid by decision. Alright, this next fight, actually pretty hyped for this. Luke Riley versus Bogdan Grad. Luke Riley, really hyped up 11-0 prospect coming out of the UK, making his debut, and he trains with Paddy Pimblett. Really fun style, always looking for the KO, has a ton of them on his record, and is just looking to put people out cold. Only concern though is his takedown defense, which is a little questionable. Bogdan Grad, a pretty goofy fighter. Just watching this dude fight, it's something. I mean, he has pretty awful striking. He has decent grappling. I mean, he's not horrible. He's coming off the loss to Naimov, who's really good, but Bogdan Grad also has some chin issues. Like this dude, he got I know you can't see it here, but he got chinned on the Contender Series before having to go on a win streak to get another shot at it. Winning a split decision over Michael Aswell, who isn't all that good. So, I don't know. For my final prediction, Luke Riley by round 3 TKO. I think this is going to be a pretty sick fight. Now, I think early in the fight, Grad is going to have really great success taking down Riley and controlling him. But I just think later in the fight, Luke Riley is going to be able to put him out. I think he's going to be able to exploit Bogdan Grad's horrible defense and just catch him and put him out cold in the third round and get that finish and have a big comeback win. So give me Luke Riley by knockout. Alright, this next fight, now we're on the main card. Kyoji Horiguchi versus Tagir Ulanbekov. Kyoji Horiguchi, former flyweight title challenger in 2016, who went 7-1 in the promotion with his only loss being to DJ. Then he left the promotion and became Ryzen champ, and then became Bellator champ before losing that and going back to Ryzen. Now he's making his return at 35 on a decent win streak. Beat some guys in Bellator and Ryzen here. Not the highest level guys, but there's some guys. Tagir Ulanbekov, he's one of the fighters that trains out of Khabib's camp. He's probably the worst out of that camp, though, if I'm being honest. Still a ranked level flyweight, though, who knows how to use his range on the feet and has a really good ground game. So for my final prediction, I have to go Tagir Ulanbekov by decision. As much as I want Horiguchi to have this big comeback in the UFC, I just worry he's coming back a bit washed. As even though him and Tagir are only a year apart in age, I just think that, in fight years, Horiguchi's way older. This dude has over 40 pro fights. And we've seen him start to slow down recently, including this guy lost to Patchy Mix in Bellator. How embarrassing. Like, he lost to Patchy Mix in Bellator. I don't know. I think that Tagir should be able to win a close decision that he'll ultimately be given by being in Qatar. So, give me Tagir Ulanbekov by decision. Alright, next fight on the card, Waldo Salsa Boy Cortez Acosta versus Shamil the Blob Gaziev. The most mass you'll ever see in a fight in your life. Waldo Cortez Acosta. I'm not gonna lie, I used to think this guy was awful. I used to think he sucked, just because of the way he looks. But recently I'm starting to realize that he's one of the better heavyweights. Yes, his point fighting can be boring, but he is a master at point fighting at heavyweight. He has very solid boxing, has really good takedown defense, which he showed in his fight against, what's his name? Sergey Spivak. And showed in his last fight against Delija, where this dude gets eye poked and then comes back and knocks the guy out. Like, he even showed some blob power, which Waldo Cortez Acosta isn't normally a finisher, but, showed some blob power and put out Delija, who's Tom's teammate. He also may have the best chin in the division. I mean, this dude was literally jiggling off Sergey Pavlovich's punches, and they didn't even do anything to him. And when Delija eye poked him and went for the finish and landed 20 unanswered punches, Waldo didn't even drop or really look like he got hurt. So, I don't know. Waldo's tough, man. Then for Shamil the Blob Gaziev, this is the most mass you'll ever see on a UFC fighter. Shamil is really something, y'all. He's the GOAT, man. Even though if you take him down, then he's not getting back up. Alright, all jokes aside, Shamil actually is pretty good. Super powerful, hard-hitting blob. Ton of KOs on his record. He has a ton of success in three-round fights, and has that sneaky KO win over Martin Boudet, who went 7-1 in the promotion before being cut. Only worry about Shamil is the gas tank issues, the quitting in the corner in round 4 against Rosenstrike. So, my final prediction, even though he's taking this on short notice, I have to go Waldo Cortez Acosta. He should just get this done. This is a risky fight for Waldo to take on a few days' notice, but I think he gets it done. As Shamil Gaziev's best attribute is his punching power, and it isn't doing anything to Waldo's chin. Let's be for real. Waldo has a chin made out of steel, and I just think Waldo will be able to make a comfortable decision just picking off Gaziev with the boxing. So give me Waldo Cortez Acosta by decision. Alright, for this next fight, probably the weirdest matchmaking you'll ever see. Jack Hermansson versus Mitsubek Orbai. Jack Hermansson, he's known as an unk of the middleweight division, was ranked forever. He is coming off that horrific loss to RoboCop, and I mean horrific, 4 months ago. Which has caused him to go down a weight class 4 months later, which is weird. Which I don't know if it's the best decision. The Mitsubek Orobai, one of the better unranked fighters in the promotion at the moment, was a force at lightweight, but he's been forced to, move up after the weight misses. As I have no idea why he was really trying to make 155. Like he clearly wasn't able to make that weight. He has very high level submission ability though, with the subs over Tafik Musayev and Uros Medic, and yeah, he also has just a fun marauder style on the feet and has some power too. Got some KOs in LFA before he even went to this promotion. So my final pick, yeah, I'm going Orobai by round 1 TKO. Yes, it's kind of the caveman pick where, ooh, this guy got knocked out in his last fight. This guy didn't get knocked out. Pick him by knockout. But I just don't know about Hermanson coming back this soon. He's cutting down in weight when he was already a really big, 185er. So he's going to look like a skeleton. And I just think Orobai is going to be able to catch him with something on the feet and put him out cold. I really do. I just think so. I think at the start of the fight, Orobai will try to grapple Hermanson, but Hermanson he has a really good defensive grappling game, and I think that's going to cause Orobai to strike with him and just catch him with a big old punch. So give me Mitsubek Orobai by round 1 TKO. All right, for the the featured fight? We got Volkan Oezdemir versus Alonzo Menifield. Volkan Oezdemir, the definition of a gatekeeper. He's a former title challenger who fought DC for the vacant light heavyweight title back in 2017, who seems to just beat everyone ranked below him, such as, the Johnny Walkers, the Bogdan Guskovs, but, just loses against like top level fighters such as, Carlos Oberg, or this is when Krylov was really good though, and Yuri Prohaska, but he beats the lower level guys. I mean, Johnny Walker, Bogdan Guskov, and Paul Craig, like those are the level guys he beats. And he also, in that loss against Oberg, he did not get chinned or nothing. He actually did pretty well. Actually landed some shots on Oberg. So then for Alonzo Menifield, kind of a chin or be chin kind of fighter, is able to beat some lower level guys, such as Juicebox Walker and like Dustin Jacoby, but that's about as far as it goes. I mean, look, the KO losses to Mirzakhanov and Oberg, where he literally blitzed straight at Oberg and got chinned. Like one of the worst performances you'll ever see from a fighter in your life. And he just kind of stops trying when he gets hurt. I mean, he's probably one of the worst ranked guys the UFC has ever seen. He's coming off the big wins over Julius Walker and Umar Sy, though. So, I don't know. Final prediction. I'm just going to jump to it. This is an easy fight to pick. Volkan Oezdemir by round 1 TKO. Volkan Oezdemir, it's a pretty self-explanatory pick here. Menifield, while powerful, is just way too chinny, with multiple KO losses to really be anything. And he's going to war with Juicebox. Juicebox is, I mean, just watch Juicebox fight and tell me that guy is high level. Oezdemir will definitely hurt him bad at some point and just put him out cold, I think. Give me Volkan Oezdemir by round 1 knockout. Alright, for our co-main event. This is a people's main event, man. Bilal Muhammad versus Ian Machado Ferry. Bilal Muhammad, former champ. He's going into his first fight after, losing to JDM, my GOAT. It's okay. I'd lose to JDM too. But, went on the Big Ten fight win streak to beat the then fight Leon Edwards and then lost to JDM. Super, pressure heavy style, has amazing wrestling, trains with Islam Makhachev and has decent boxing as well. Ian Machado Gary, even though everyone hates this guy, including me, I hate him, but he is very good at doing what he does best, point fighting. He's 6'3" and he just picks at you with range, throws low kicks, those like 3-4 fight, 3-4 punch combinations that do no damage, and he just picks people off from range. I mean, he has the win over Carlos Prates, which aged incredibly well as Carlos Prates just knocked out Leon Edwards. This is now a top 5 welterweight on the planet. And also has the win over MVP, who's one of the best strikers in the UFC. So, pretty good. Now for my final prediction, I'm not breaking this down too much in depth because it's an easy fight to predict. My final prediction, it's Ian Gary by decision. I love Bilal, and I hope Bilal wins this fight, as I hate Ian Gary, but I just don't see it. Bilal, it's going to be really hard for Bilal to even find Ian's hips. Because Ian, he's going to be doing his little stick and move, running around the cage, not even letting Bilal shoot on him. And eventually, I think Bilal will just give up on taking him down. And I think we'll lose a pure striking match with Ian Gary, probably 30-27 decision. Alright, after talking about that interesting fight, our main event, Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker. Arman Tsarukyan, he's maybe the second best lightweight on planet Earth. Has the best wrestling in the division and also pretty nice striking too. Has a couple of KO wins. And he has insane ground and pound. Just watch the Joe Alvarez fight if you want proof of that. Has been very inactive though. Hasn't fought since UFC 300 against Jello or not Jello Charles Oliveira, where he won a split decision, which shouldn't have been a split decision. Dan Hooker. I mean, he's one of the most entertaining guys in the division. Always puts on bangers and has had a bit of a career resurgence at 35. After looking like he was done after the losses to Makhachev and Arnold Allen, has come back strong, beating Claudio Puelles, which is a terrible win. Jalen Turner split decision and Gamrot split decision, but hey, they're wins, and he's on a big return, number 6 ranked in the division. Somehow takes a ton of damage in all these fights. The Turner fight gets a skull fractured. Gamrot fight gets dropped by Gamrot. He is also coming off a long layoff, a year and 3 months off. So yeah, this is a really easy fight to pick. I'm going Arman Tsarukyan by round 1 knockout, or not round 2 knockout. I just watch my full in-depth breakdown I did if you want to know more about this fight, but I'm going Arman here. Hooker is just way too easy to take down and gets cut way too easily. I think this fight will go very similar to the Jello Alvarez fight, with Arman cutting him bad with ground and pound elbows and either it being a doctor stoppage or him just finishing Hooker with elbows. That's really what I see happening here. So, main event, give me Arman Tsarukyan by round 2 knockout. Alright, let's save my picks and go through everyone that I picked. This is actually a pretty stacked fight night. Hello? Hello?